Welcome to this warm-up and mobility session before a workout. This requires no equipment, so it's easy to do this at home. So we want to start off right off the bat, just warming up our body slowly with light movements. We're going to start with moving our neck. Think about doing just singular straight movements. You don't want to be rotating and rolling your neck, but more about side to side. And then start to swing your arms. We're going to warm up the shoulders, warm up the lats. So as we swing our shoulders, we want to come all the way across the chest, swing back and open up the chest at the same time. And then you can start to raise your arms up in the air. And really just kind of start to play around with moving the whole shoulder joint, along with stretching out the lats. Remember that whenever you're doing a stretch or a mobility movement like this, you want to keep your core engaged. It's always about keeping your core engaged, so that way you're doing it properly. So start to bring your knees up now as well. So step ups. We're just kind of get the blood flowing here. So we're kind of playing around, moving our body, taking some big high knees. Just keep doing that and make sure you engage your core. Keep a tight ab. Now we're going to kind of roll and move our ankles. And press them against the floor to try to get a nice stretch, but really we want to just roll and move the joint in the ankle. The ankle takes a lot of weight and pressure all day, and we want to actively mobilize them because it can really hold us back when we're doing all kinds of different exercises if we don't. Just take a little time to rotate counterclockwise and then go reverse the other way. Now this stretch is designed to be a hip flexor stretch. So we're jumping into our first stretch now. So as you can see, we're kind of pressing back down to stretch out the calf, and we're raising up in the air, keeping the core tight, and also leaning to the opposite side of what leg we're stretching. So if you're doing what I'm doing here, where you're stretching your left calf, you're leaning towards the right, make sure you engage those abs. You can do that by rotating your shoulders back, squeezing them down, and then really tighten your abs like you're bracing to get punched in the stomach. It's important, again, to keep the abs tense while you do these stretches. We're now reversing to the other side. We want to think that in the motion of doing an activity and an exercise, that you're going to be under tension and pressure with weight and whatever else is going on. So if you keep a good core and you stretch in that, it's going to represent a lot more of the real life scenario when you're flexing and doing a motion. Okay? Now move on to a classic quad stretch. So again, keep that core tight, almost like you're bracing and putting weight on your shoulders. Pick up that leg, grab it behind you, and then squeeze the leg up, pull it back. But you want to engage your core first. We don't want your hips coming forward a bunch. We want to keep hips right above the ankles. Then switch to your other side. Do the same thing. Engage the core, hips above the ankles, and then give your leg a little bit of a pull back to where you feel the quad. We're not getting into a really intense stretch here. That's not the goal. We're just trying to create a little bit of mobility. Remember, it's not about how deep and how hard you stretch. We're just trying to warm up and move the body a bit. This isn't a super intense stretching session. We're just trying to wake the body up. So now we're going to do some hip hinges, wide leg hip hinges. Again, engaging that core. I'm going to say it every single time. Engage that core, keep that back flat. You don't want to be rounding or moving it. Just keep it at a single position and use your hips. Use your ass, your hamstrings to pull you up, okay? We're not rounding the back, we're keeping it the exact same all the way through the motion. Now I'm stretching down to the floor, but don't assume you need to do that as well. Do what feels good for you. And just keep slowly doing that movement. And if you're feeling able to, keep that back straight and get a nice stretch where you might be able to touch the floor. If not, you can just hinge halfway. And then we're kind of playing around with what's called a abductors, which is the inside of the leg, and we're just leaning from side to side. So I'll show you here. So legs wide, and we're just kind of leaning a little bit from side to side to get that stretch on the inner thigh, okay? Again, we're not looking for a deep stretch. We're just trying to slowly wake the body up, right? We're gonna be doing an exercise soon. We just wanna wake it up. We're not doing a big, deep stretch like in yoga. So now we're gonna come down to the ground. We're gonna do a bit of another hamstring, but on the ground, because this might be easy for you to stretch if the last one was more difficult. This is a classic one you see all the time. You want your leg straight on one side, your right leg straight, and then you bring your other leg in where it's touching your knees, like your heel touches your knee on the other side. Again, core always tight. We're not over rounding. We're not loosely seeing how far we can stretch. It does not matter how far you can stretch without strength. You want to have a flexed back, flexed core, and then do the range of motion. Because in reality, that's where your strength is, in that range of motion. Now to the other side. Once again, engaging that core, and then moving into the stretch. But always having that core engaged, always keeping a strong back, a strong core. We want to protect the spine. We want to train it to always be engaged whenever we're doing any sort of movement. So find what's comfortable to you. Try each side, switch the hands. Now we're going to be a little bit more open legs again. These are the abductors, again with the core. Keep it tight. Find what is comfortable for you. We're going to try to stretch the inside of the legs there. You can do that by having your legs either farther away from you or closer to you will increase the stretch. And if you're feeling open to it, you can kind of rotate and move your back around to really open up the side oblique, the side of your lats. Start engaging that whole chain. You can also push down your legs to engage a little bit more stretch. Remember, whatever works for you. And we're gonna get back up. We're gonna go onto our pigeon pose. This stretch is the stretches for the quads. You can see that I'm pointing out, you wanna have like a 90-degree turn in your leg. If you can do this, this is great. You don't have to. You can have your leg a little bit farther ahead of you, and you do not have to lean in that much if you're not ready for that. Sitting up straight is fine. The key here again is engaging the core, and we're stretching. You'll feel it in your glute. My back leg is straight back, okay? So your front leg doesn't have to be at 90. It can be a little bit farther up. And this is more of a straight leg that I like to transition to from that pigeon pose. So now do it the other side. So once again, you'll see I'm doing a 90. My front leg's at a 90. My back leg is straight back. Again, if that's too much of a deep stretch for you, then you can keep your torso straight up and your leg doesn't have to be at a 90. It can be a little more an angle, but you want to feel it in your glute, your butt basically. That's what we're stretching there. Next up is the cat-cow. So what we want to do here is we want to breathe out and then breathe in. See, so breathe out as we stretch our back, and breathe in as we come the other direction. Again, keeping that core tight. We're really stretching this back, pushing down, pushing up. Okay. This might seem fast right now, but after you do this a couple times, it's seem easy. You can drop into some knee push-ups to really warm up those pecs, get some more blood flowing. We're trying to wake the body up now. We're moving out of the stretches, moving into more dynamic movements, get some blood flowing so we can get into our workout. Do as many that work for you. Go ahead and move up to your knees. If you can do this one, fantastic. I find it's a little bit painful on the knees sometimes. You can put a cushion in your knee, but this again helps engage your glute and stretch your quad, which is very common in men and us in general because we're sitting all the time. So again, it's a 90-degree scenario for each leg. You keep the core tight, your upper body tight. So I'll show you here again, 90 degrees. You engage your core and your back. Squeeze it down, get tight. And then once you're tight there, squeeze your glute and you press forward a little bit just to feel that stretch in your hip. You only need to go forward as much as where you feel the stretch. We're not trying to, again, go as far as we can. This is about engaging the muscles and then engaging them in a stretch, okay? And we're just gonna do a little bit of light jumping, kind of shake the body off, move things around. That might feel a little bit loose. Feel free at this point to play around and do whatever you want. I decided to do some lunges because I felt like I need to warm my legs up a bit more, which is probably not a bad idea for you to do as well since you just did push-ups. But what I like to focus on is getting used to understanding the body, building body awareness, and playing around, right? Once you do this enough, you'll understand what kind of stretches, stretch what muscles. So that way when you're trying to warm up, you'll notice a certain area in your body that's getting tight or needs some mobility. You can go and just quickly do it. It's all about that mind-body connection. If you enjoyed this mobility session, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.